I had a question asked me very recently, and it was a doozy. So this person asked me, in your experience, what's the deadliest distraction killing early revenue, and how do you nuke it without losing the momentum like I did when I was joining finance at the age of 18? So this is a challenge because you're probably in a situation where you feel committed. You feel like there's something that you really want. You're pursuing it, yet every single time that you seem like you're pursuing it, you get distracted. Something comes along and it just feels like it's molasses. And when you do go all in, it feels like you're getting nowhere fast. And that just continues to make you have this doubt and make you feel like, hey, am I really going on the right path? So this is so common. And it's a common story that almost every single entrepreneur I've ever met has gone through. That there's a couple out there, of course, that are nuanced, that have never experienced that type of thing because they were doing something that they loved, such as like maybe making bread, for example, and they had a unique twist on it. And there's just a really cool, fun, creative idea that all of a sudden they bring it to church. Somebody goes, wow, this is great. Can I have this? Can I pay for this? And voila, a business is born. But that's not the real story for most of us. Most of us, it's a lot more grueling and tedious and difficult. Something like you want to build a business where you're going to do a laundromat, but you have no money to your name, or you are wanting to build your own drywall company. And in that instance, it sounds great, but you don't know anything about businesses. You don't know anything about filing taxes. You don't know anything about CRMs. You know nothing. So how do you avoid those distractions? How do you get over that? Here's the truth. It means you gotta sacrifice everything if you want to avoid distractions. And this is a truth that people don't want to hear because a lot of people believe that you can have have your cake and eat it too. And that is not true, especially in the early phases of most entrepreneurs or most business owners, striving business owners, journeys. And there's nothing we really can do about it. So, what is the most common distraction? I was hinting at it. It's actually your family. I found that your family is almost always the biggest distraction. And what's interesting is it's almost always done out of love and kindness out of their heart. So, if you're experiencing anything that I've talked about right now, you're going to like the rest of what we got to talk about. So keep with us, stick with me here. We're going to walk through part of the journey, part of the stories, some of the different trenches that I personally went through, and of course, some of the biggest amazing payoffs that happened. To set this up, in my story and how I got started, I was actually 14 years old, and very early on, I learned what it really felt like to get told no. My math teacher told me I wasn't allowed to go on to the next math class, even though I had actually passed the course. You heard me right. Yes, the principal was also on board with this, and they prevented me from the next math and science on my way to what I wanted to do, which was become an aeronautical engineer. This is what set the stage for me to realize that, wow, if somebody who has no incentives, no real win other than just their ego, if they could have all this power in high school, then what does that say about somebody in college? What does that say about somebody who has power over me in a job later on? And this is pre-2008 when technically everything is good at that point. And this is the first problem that I had to start working through. And I had to understand and identify what is it that I really wanted and what is the distraction that's getting me to that place. Now, you're told that getting good grades, you're told that going to school, graduating, going to college, getting a degree, going on XYZ path, having a job, getting a home, this is the American dream. And for those of you who still believe in that, you probably had a really strong success because you walked that path. But for the rest of us, and this is continuing to become a bigger strain, by the way, that's just not the reality. That's not the truth. Many people follow that path, went to school, but got the wrong degree. Many people went through high school, they became the king or queen at the prom, and that was their highlight of their life, and they lose all motivation, direction because they're always looking back to the past. Some of you are so focused on trying to just live for the today that you don't realize that there's tomorrow and tomorrow will come. Others are just dealing with the distractions of feeling this obligation to everyone around them that they must take care of everybody else, when really it's really hard to take care of others if you can't take care of yourself first. This is difficult. And in my early journey, I came to the realization that I did not want to go to college. I said, screw college. If they can do this to me in high school, they can do this to me in college. And I don't want to have anybody have any power, lord that over me. And I don't want to be sucking up to other people. I am not made like that. So every day, I started to not pay attention to grades. I started to not go to class. I started to not do the typical things. And I was going at a private school at this point. Instead, what I was doing was teaching myself music, because if I can't have aeronautics, then I'm going to have the other thing that I want, which is I wanted to have music be a part of my life, and I wanted to make money from it. So I started at 14, 15 years old, going and sitting on the piano on my own time, teaching myself, because I was too poor to have one at home. And I was giving myself my own lessons. I was doing my own research. I was using the school computer to learn how can I do this. And that was my only place for access. And along this way, my mom, my counselor, these other family members, everybody else started telling me, hey, Shane, you're so smart. Why aren't you getting good grades? Everybody was so focused on good grades, thinking that was the best thing for me. And I had to realize early that they were not in charge of me. They were not responsible for my outcomes. I was responsible for my outcomes. So I had to tell them, no, you are a distraction. One by one, I started removing them. As in high school, I remember that a challenge came out from my mom and the counselor, and they were like, hey, maybe the reason why you don't like grades is because you've never experienced what it's like to have perfect days across the board. And they said, how about this? If you get full A's for a full semester, across the board and everything, we'll leave you alone. And if you like it, then you just keep doing it. And I was like, I already know that I'm not going like this, but I'll take you up on that if you guys stop being a distraction. So I took them up on it. I got A's in every single class, everything across the board, spent all my time specifically on schoolwork and ensuring that all the teachers are happy. And I remember the day came where on my transcript, I got all A's, and they're like, see, didn't that feel so good? And I was like, no, I knew it wasn't going to feel good because this was a distraction. And I went right back to teaching myself piano, becoming a better musician. And that is the base of what shaped me to understand how powerful it was when they stopped pandering me, when the other students stopped trying to push me and point me in their direction that they felt was best. When my mom stopped trying to go into my ear and put consequences for these actions that I knew were the right actions, but to her, she didn't think it was. The amount of space and clarity was incredible. In FQ3C, we call this continuity. I controlled the continuity to the best of my ability, and the payout was amazing. Before I even turned 18 years old, I was already on stage upwards of 4 or 5 times a week performing. And it was because of that dedication that got me there. Now, this begs the question, does this work for everything? Yes, it does. However, I will say this. As you get older, life goes. We all know that. If you end up having kids, you end up having a home, you end up having a family, you have to get a job. I didn't have those things yet. So that was not a distraction yet. It was later on that these distractions of regular life, having kids, having a wife, having the home, came in, and it became that much harder to keep the continuity on track. And the consequences became more severe. So I'm going to say this again. The consequences became more severe. You're probably thinking, oh, okay. The reason why he's saying that is because he didn't get the job that he wanted, or maybe you're thinking about my family. And what I'm saying is I put my marriage on the line. I almost lost my wife. I lost one of my kids. And in the marriage, I almost lost my other kid because of the consequences. So I do want to say this quickly. You have to measure your cost. You have to understand for yourself if you're willing to pay it. But when you have an objective that you know in your heart, in your soul is what you're meant to do, then more than likely the cost is worth it. And here's something else too to let you know about. I was an 18-year-old, no degree, recruited right out of high school to go into a financial firm, all because I sold a board game to the right person. And I was 18 trying to tell people with gray hair how to go about their finances. I was doing measurements of net worth. I was learning about amortization schedules. I was learning about the difference between the word dividend within the insurance field versus the investment field. These types of things was my education, and I was on commissions. I didn't get paid unless I performed. So you talk about raising the stakes. It was insane. And I've known so far that every person who's been successful in this type of arena always had success later on. And the reason why is because you are fighting even more against those distractions that we're talking about. You think that it's bad being a high schooler being hounded about your grades. Try being an 18-year-old being hounded that because you're not good at folding your clothes means that you're not eligible to help somebody with their finances, and you don't have gray hair, you've never bought a house, you've never had your own kids, you don't know anything about life. Try going against those odds, right? In the regular public. My first clients weren't even part of my family because my family totally didn't believe in me. 100%, every family member did not believe in me. I had to go and pursue it regardless of how they treated me. And long story short, because of my removal of the distractions, which included my family, which included my friends, which meant I actually left the state I grew up in order to remove those distractions, I took on those different things and I got some really cool rewards for it, such as becoming the youngest investment advisor facilitator for a Fortune 100 company, such as being able to help start over 30 different companies. And it all came down to my financial prowess. In one of the companies, we did literally 4 million in the first year. Another one of the companies, we did upwards of 5 million in just the first 2.5 years. This company right now, we're looking at a $57 million deal, and we have been active for less than a year and a half. Those types of things happen when you remove distractions. So when you're removing distractions, you have to understand that if you can't identify them, you're not going to be able to remove them. We call this, again, continuity. If you aren't able to observe the continuity, which is all the consistencies surrounding the consistency that you need to execute, if you don't control those, they will become barriers instead of elements that are going to accentuate and help you. Even with my own wife, I had to prove to her that yes, FQ3C works. And I had to write a book in 16 days. Mind you, she almost still divorced me during that period. 2 days I actually had to take off. But 16 days, 62,000 words. That's over 340 pages-ish. And no, I did not use AI. That's purely just typed out, grinding it. And I had to prove to her, yes, this works. Here's the proof. And after showing her the proof, she was able to observe that she herself was one of my distractions. She herself was one of those barriers to accomplishing the objective. And I had to negotiate with her to make it so she's on board with what we needed to do for us to set ourselves up for the near future relative to this business. Every business I've done, it's the same thing though. Seriously, there's no difference. Doesn't matter if you're trying to start a laundromat. Doesn't matter if you're trying to start a sandwich shop. Doesn't matter if you're trying to start something on Etsy. Doesn't matter if it's a side hustle that's turning into an actual business. The distractions are real. You have to remove them. You have to do something about them. And the emotional payoff is no regrets. In finance, we had this saying, would you prefer the pain of change or the pain of regret? And every single family I would sit down with would always say, oh, we fear the pain of regret more. And yet, when push came to shove, when money was supposed to be put down, they had to really come to an understanding with themselves on whether that was actually true for them. And you know what's interesting is most people, despite what they think, despite the fact that they would answer the question that regret is what they fear most, truth is most people fear change more than anything. And this change that I'm asking for you to consider to adopt is to observe everything as potential distraction, and distractions are your biggest killer 9 times out of 10. It's the biggest killer out there. It's almost always the last one to be addressed. When, in my opinion, if you want to be efficient, you want to get to your objective, you have to get that first before anything else. Yes, that includes your mentality. For all these people say, oh, you have to change your mind. Yeah, of course you have to change your mind. But guess what? That only accounts for about 5% of your odds of success. Your distractions account for at least 8. Oh, and by the way, your fears, your mentality, your approach can also be your distraction, which means that it's accounting for well over 12 to 15% of your odds of success that are in your way. You're letting 15% get in the way of your 100% of your best odds that you could possibly have. Your distractions are literally your distraction from an odds perspective. But listen, so here's the thing though, right? Some of you are going, I was successful without needing to do that. I still got to have my cake and eat it too. Guess what? That's also a factor. In fact, this is what we call being able-bodied. 9% of your odds of success for any objective that you have right now, regardless of whether you do have distractions or don't, right? Your conditions are your conditions, is ultimately the fact that you just woke up. You being capable, you have basically 9% odds of luck just thrown your way, just giving to you. Think about it this way. That means that there's a room of 100 people who are trying to achieve their goal or their objective in life. 9 of them are going to do it just because of sheer luck. They just right place, right time, right resources, right whatever it is, parents. It's just going to happen for them. And what I need you to understand, what I really hope that you grab from this, is that does not indicate anything about your success. You actually had the same odds. And I'm telling you this right now, nobody would go to the casino and put down their life savings on 9% odds of success. So don't treat your destination, don't treat your goals the same way. Do everything you can to increase your odds and optimize them so that you can have a chance, a real fighting chance to get it. Imagine going to a casino and you knew that your odds were 90% that you're going to walk out of there making money. I still know people who would not even risk that. They wouldn't go there unless they knew it was 100%. But now we're going to another realm. If you want to go and change the life, change the world around you, you got to take some risk. You have to. Thinking that anything's 100% guaranteed is foolish. But thinking about going into anything without stacking the odds in your favor is also foolish. So stack the odds, take the risk, and know that you're living your life without the regret. So what you really need to do to get this going, well, let's give you 3 drills here. Drill number 1, sit down and get clear on every single thing that is either in your way or aiding you. If it's aiding you, keep it. If it's in your way, your next thing is to get rid of it one by one. You can also use what we have, which is our decision-making matrix. It's 16 elements that you can look at to prioritize what to do first and next and what to automate, etc. It's really awesome. It's really great. It's in depth. Not everybody loves it per se, but if you think in that way, it will help you greatly. And I'd say the other drill that you need to do is every single moment that you are talking with somebody, someone, you're looking at your phone, you're engaging in a conversation, you need to ask, is this a distraction? Yes or no. And if it's not a distraction, keep going. If it is a distraction, be rude, be brutal. That's actually kind. You're being kind to yourself and your objective and where you're going. You're being kind to that person for not wasting theirs or your time. Cut it. Get it out. I'm sorry, but your objectives social etiquette, social behaviors that are correct, just like you heard in my story about me getting good grades, doesn't matter if you really want to go and be big and be bold and do what matters for you, your family, your future. It's worth it. So that you can go to fq3c.com. You can learn more. We have a blog there. You can also go to any social media. You can also go to fq3c.com, scroll down. All of our social medias are there. Most handles you can just type in either at FQ3C Success or just search FQ3C and look for our logo. Thankfully, we have lots of content that's out there, and we have more to come just like this, where we're answering really unique questions. And we really want you to also join our Fun Fry. Every single Friday, you can come and learn the fundamentals of success with us, but from a data perspective, and also utilizing the gold standard for goal creations, which we have been blessed to have proven that we have. We also are evidence-based. So this is not hoopla. This is not intuition. This isn't feelings. This is real data, statistics, the truth. If the truth is what matters, then connect with us. Again, fq3c.com. You can also go to fq3c.com/funfry to sign up for our next Fun Fry meeting happening again every Friday. And if you also would like to connect with me specifically, I'd be more than happy to. You can look up more about myself, my background on fq3c.com/Shane. Thank you so much. And as we say with FQ3C, kudos, everybody.